tell a story about me getting fired from my second job at a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm going to talk about this story because for me, I find it kind of funny. Not so much. How do I put this? Like in an ironic sense, maybe. I don't know. I'll just get to the story and then you'll see what I mean. So I'm gonna start way from the beginning because I have worked at
Punch bag and
Dunkin's.
weightlifting
Oh
equipment.
crap! I gotta turn this down.
Because the last thing we want is criminals who are weak and easy to arrest.
Anyways, so I have worked at a Dunkin's for I don't know, 15 years on again, off again. Basically, it all started way back in 2007, I think. 2006. No. Hold on. I was still in high school, so it must have been 2005. I think I started. And I worked there for about 3 years. Basically what happened was it got to the point where the owner of that franchise I worked for, he was such a dickbag. Like, he doesn't care about anybody but himself. And it was just frustrating to keep working for somebody like that. Like, I hated my job because of him. But really what made me quit was this one day. So I had a position called shift leader. It was a position that I had basically more or less because I asked for it. Everyone around me was getting promoted all the time, and I wasn't. And I was the one that knew everything. Like, all these other shift leaders that were recently promoted, they would still, like, ask me questions or what have you about things, because I knew everything. So I was like, why the heck am I... so I was like, why do I not have the position? So I asked, and finally got the position, and I did it for free, too. I didn't get a raise or anything. It was just something I did just to feel better about my position. I didn't realize how zoomed in I had this. So anyways, come on. So yeah, so I also did get a raise over time during those days. Minimum wage I think was like $8 an hour or $7.85 or something like that, and I was making $8.10 I think. And yeah, but that raise, like I said, had nothing to do with my position. I had the raise because I asked my manager a billion times if I could get a raise, and it finally happened. I mean, I only worked for the dang company for 3 years. Well, actually, I got the raise probably at maybe 2.5 mark. But anyways, so what happened one day was, well, I guess it was over a period of time, but there's a stupid timer thing that they have for the drive-through, and they want it to be at like an A. It goes by like a school type grading system. They wanted it to be like an A, and always in the afternoon shift. That's when I used to work. It would be like a D or an F or something. It would be bad, but it was like, there was a reason for it. It's not because we sucked. It's the second shift. There's less people. If the people order big orders or whatever, it kind of slows you down. Nothing you can really do about that unless you're going to park everyone. But then it's like, then you're just falsely showing what you're doing. And I didn't want that. If we're doing bad, then let's just show it. So anyways, the stupid owner of the place was frustrated with that. And one day he chose to demote me and take some of my pay away. He brought me down. I don't think it went too far. I think it went from like $8.10 to $8, so it was only 10 cents. But still, the point was I had that raise, like I said, because I worked there for a long time and asked for it. It had nothing to do with my position. Like, as far as him demoting my position, I didn't care, because everyone was still going to listen to me. They were before I had the position, and they still would after the fact. I mean, I know they wouldn't have agreed with his nonsense to demote me anyways. In their eyes, I still would have been the one in charge. So yeah, but then when he did all that, that was just like, I don't know. I was just like, F this. Like, I told my manager right after he did that. I told her what happened, and I said I was putting my 2 weeks in, and then she was like, "Oh, please don't quit," because she liked me. Obviously, I was a good employee. I knew what I was doing and all that. But I was like, I can't stay working for a place that they clearly don't care about you at all. Like, there were so many other instances too of this dickhead just not appreciating his employees, and like that was annoying to me too, because I was basically the brunt of it. Like, there was one time, this was before he even had cameras in his facility. So I by far, like, I'm not even trying to oversell myself, I by far was like his best employee. I would be working and everyone else would be outside dicking around with their friends that they would invite to come over and just hang out in the parking lot with. And I'd be working, doing everything. And I remember there was this one time where I had cleaned the whole entire back area, like our whole entire working area. Jeez, this camera angle sucks and I can't change it. But yeah, so I was the only one working, and I cleaned the whole entire thing. Are you serious? How do you jump? Dang it! But yeah, so I was the only one that cleaned up the whole entire area. I cleaned everything. I took out the fridges and all that, and I swept behind there. I mopped. Like, I had it looking juicy in there. And so, anyways, come on, dang it! Grab the. You're ruining my story by being a dickhead. Anyways, so I cleaned behind there, and yeah. So, anyways, the sugar dispensers that we had, they used to make a mess. They were kind of aggressive when they would dispense the sugar. So there was a tiny bit of a mess, and like he was there. His office used to be in the back room. What the heck is going on? Yeah. So his office used to be in the back room. So he comes up and he sees that tiny bit of mess of sugar, and that's what he calls out. He says, "Oh, make sure this gets cleaned." And I'm like, is this dickhead for real? Does he not see how perfect this place looks? And all he's going to worry about is that little bit of sugar. He's not going to worry about he's got employees that he's technically paying. Well, not technically, that he is paying right now. That are just outside dicking off doing nothing. He's not worried about that. He's not worried about how perfectly clean it is in here. Otherwise, all he's going to complain about is this tiny bit of sugar that literally you could go and it would be cleaned up. And like, I don't know, that kind of started the downfall. That was when I was kind of new too. I was probably still in high school during those days, and I was discouraged by his nonsense. And then it just went downhill even more. There was one time in summer, like, so one of the managers told me to go outside. What the heck? Go outside and sweep the parking lot. Now it was super hot and humid out that day. And I'm not wearing that uniform. I'm wearing the robber one. But yeah, it was super hot and humid, and I was profusely sweating. And in my perspective of things, I felt like that looks very unprofessional. I'm all sweaty, and I'm going to go back in and serve customers while I'm all sweaty and gross. So I thought, oh, good. When he came out to leave, I was like, good, maybe he'll tell me to go in. Because I think he even, when he was leaving, he pulled over up to me, and he says, what are you doing out here or something? And I was thinking, yes. Maybe he'll tell me to go back in. And I was like, oh, Fabio, that was the general manager at the time. He said, I was like, Fabio told me to come here and clean the parking lot. And what's his response? Oh, well, make sure you get it where I was parked because I noticed there was some stuff under my truck as I backed out. I'm like, this dickhole. He's sitting in his truck in the AC. He went from his building where there was AC to his truck where AC, and he sees one of his employees profusely sweating and looking nasty and doesn't care about me, doesn't care about his employees seeing me when I get back in there to serve them. Like, I don't know, maybe that just seems petty, but in my head, it was like, what a dick. Like, all you care about is me sweeping up over where your truck was parked? Really? So, anyways, initially I put in my 2 weeks, but then after I was thinking about, I was standing there doing portions. That's when you put your meat and stuff on the little trays for the next day. And I was standing there and I'm thinking, you know, everything I'm doing right now is for less money. Yesterday when I did portions, I was making a little bit more per hour. You know, and anything else that I might do after, like when I count the draws later, that would be for less money. And, you know, I was just thinking about it, and like I said, I was like, I didn't care that he demoted me because nobody would take him seriously. They'd still take me seriously. But the pay, it just made me annoyed. So then I was like, you know, I went back to the manager, was like, I actually quit now, I'm sorry. And she was like, no, don't quit, at least finish today. Can you at least finish today? And I was like, I just can't. It's the whole principle of it. So I quit. And my brother worked there with me at that time too. And I go to tell him, and like at first he didn't believe me because, I mean, why would you? It's kind of weird that I'm just going to quit out of nowhere. I mean, he didn't know what happened. And then I was like, no, I'm serious. And then I walked out and left. And then I went home. And when I got home, my mom was outside feeding the dogs. So then I told her that, you know, she said, what are you doing here? And I said, I quit. And explained the situation. I mean, my mom knew that the owner of that place was a dickhole too, so she was kind of like on my team. It was almost like, okay, one down, now just your brother to go. So anyways, that's what happened at first when I left. That was back in 2008, I think. 5, 6, yeah, probably 2008. Well, I was also in college during those days, so I got a job like right down the street from my college, probably a mile or two from my college, and that was at a McDonald's. So I ended up working there for about 8 years total. I finished out all my college there because I was at my first college when I got that job. So I worked there for my first college, worked there, well, for the remainder of my first college, I should say. Then I worked there all throughout my second college, and then after I graduated, I was able to get a main job in my field right away, 2 months after graduating. But I still worked there as a side job because, well, I wasn't making that much money, and now I had child support, which was super expensive. So I basically worked at McDonald's just to make my child support money back. And yeah, but finally the time came in 2015 where I didn't need to work at McDonald's anymore. The job I had was actually pretty good. I was making decent money. And yeah, I was basically making double what I was making at my first engineering job. So I quit. McDonald's sucks. I mean, for me, how I feel now, it's a job that during the time when I was working, I didn't think anything, but now I look back on it and I'm like, oh man, how did I last so long? Like, that is not something that I ever want to do again. The only way I'll ever do that again is if it gets to a point where things are like super desperate for me. Like, I can't find a job and I'm struggling, and that's like a last resort. Which, unfortunately, I almost did get to that point because recently, back in 2018, that job that I was just talking about that was really good, yeah, they let me go for really bogus, weak, terrible reasons. But regardless, I still wasn't employed anymore, and it was getting bad. I was trying to find a job and I couldn't, and I thought I was going to have to go back to McDonald's just for the time being. You know, it's ironic because unemployment was a pain in the butt too. I never got unemployment. I got one payment. I was out of work for 9 months. I got one payment of $750. Don't know why they never hooked me up. I don't understand. I was making dick. I mean, I guess it's because technically I had two jobs, so they saw it as, oh, you're not actually struggling. But the problem was those two jobs I had, one was at Walmart, making way less than I was making at my main job. I went from making, what, $27 an hour down to 12? I also was working less. I went from working 40 hours a week to Walmart. I was only doing, well, I was working 4 days a week. That was because I wasn't working, because I did overnights. So I wasn't working on the days that the nights that I had my daughter, obviously. And then I also wasn't working on, I think I took Tuesday nights off. I think it was Tuesday nights. Yeah, it was Tuesday nights, so that then I could have Wednesday days off. Well, not off, but not be tired. Like, I could go to bed on Tuesday night and then be well rested for Wednesday. The point of that was because I was trying to plan it so that if I had any interviews, I could schedule them for Wednesday and know that I wouldn't be tired. Like, I could be well rested and look normal, not like groggy and sleepy and look unprofessional. I also utilized Wednesdays to job search, which I did very heavily. That's what else made me kind of frustrated, that they wouldn't give me unemployment, because I was actively job searching. I applied to, every Wednesday I would apply to at least 3 places on my own. Plus, I was working with 6 recruiters, which they basically applied to about 3 places a week for me as well. Like, they would always email me updates as to what they applied to for me on my behalf, however you want to phrase that. So all in all, I was doing what, 7 times a day? I was doing 21 jobs. I was applying to 21 jobs a week, basically. So it's not like I wasn't trying to find a job. And I just was having no luck. Like I said, 9 months out of work before I finally landed something. And it wasn't even in my field. It was a job where what the company does is they make countertops. Granite, Decton, black stone, or soapstone, black soapstone. All of those, marble, quartz. We made countertops there. And that job had nothing to do with my field, and it was predominantly Spanish speaking. I didn't want to take it because I could barely understand the people, but I thought, you know what? At this point, I need a job. So if I got to deal with struggling to understand these people, this is what I'm going to have to do for now. I mean, I got used to it too. Like the guy that was basically my boss, his name was Pedro. His English was really bad. Like when I first met him, I could barely understand him, but you get used to it after a while. I knew what he was trying to say after a while. At first, though, it was rough. When he was trying to train me, I'd just pretend I knew what I was saying. I'd be like, okay, yeah. And I'd be like, what in the world did he say? And I'd try to figure out, like, he usually would couple it with, like, a physical demonstration. So I'd try to remember what he was doing. I had no idea what he was telling me, but I'd try to pay attention to what he was doing. But like I said, over time, it did get way better. Plus, what also kind of helped was his, I don't know, I guess it was his wife, but then they were going through a divorce or something weird. But, she knew English way better than he did. So, her and I actually kind of ended up becoming work friends. I mean, we never talked personally or anything, but at work we were friends. So a lot of times she would help me out and like translate for him. Like he would just talk to her in Spanish and she would translate for me. So it was a lot easier to understand her than him, which he knew it and she knew it. So, but anyways, yeah, that job, like I said, had nothing to do with my field. It had nothing to do with engineering, had nothing to do with math, you know, all fields that I have degrees in. It was just basically I knew how to use a computer and I had familiarity with um, design aided or computer aided design software. There you go. And so, yeah, that's basically what the qualifications were that got me the job. And so I took it. I mean, at least it was making, what was I getting? 20, I think I was getting $20 an hour. It was either 20 or, yeah, it was 20. What the heck was I making? I don't know, somewhere in that range. I was making either $20 an hour or $21 an hour, something like that. But compared to 13 an hour, I was like, I'll take it. And it was also, whoops. Oh, come on. But yeah, it was also, full time as opposed to what I was doing at Walmart, which Walmart, I guess you could say, was my fault. I wasn't working full time. But like I said, there was a purpose for it. Like, I wasn't trying to not work full time. It was just, I needed to have time to get myself back on track where I need to be. So when I had that job, I figured, whatever. At least it's full time and it's a little bit better money. Plus, there was a lot of overtime opportunities. I used to easily put in like an hour a week minimum because it was simple to do. There was some weeks where I'd put in 2.5 hours. Again, simple. You just show up a little bit early and stay a tiny bit late. And there's your overtime. They didn't care. Most times I wasn't even doing anything. Like, I would finish most of my work before lunch, and then there was almost like nothing to do. Because basically how it worked was the work came in from contractors. That's what all the employees were that went out and measured people's homes. They were just contractors. So whatever they had, I mostly got it all in the morning. And then there was barely anything in the afternoon because you'd have to wait until the next day when the contractors came back. So a lot of times, like I said, I had nothing to do, and I would be done my work by lunch, maybe even before lunch. And then I'd just be kind of dicking around trying to figure out what to do with myself. That's why I had time to make a full-on training manual. They didn't have a training manual, and the job I have now actually fell into my lap. I didn't look for it. It found me. So I knew I was going to be leaving, so I was like, oh man, I got to do something to help them out. No one else knew how to do my job there besides me, because what happened was, like I said, Pedro, the guy that was my supervisor, he knew how to do my job, but he got promoted, and he was at another store, or whatever you want to call it, but he was far. Like, he got transferred to Arizona, I think. For context, if you're not somebody that knows me, like, I live in Connecticut, so Arizona's far away. Well, actually, the site that I worked at was in Rhode Island, but still, Arizona's still far away from Rhode Island, too. So, yeah, they didn't have him anywhere. And there was one other guy that I guess knew how to do the software as well, but he was on some kind of potentially insurance fraud type leave of absence. Like, they got to a point where they weren't paying him anymore because they had a feeling that he was milking it. Like, he claimed that he had back injuries, but then, like, people that worked there with him and talked to him, they knew that he was in Puerto Rico or something, like, on a vacation. And they're like, if this guy's out on an injury, what's he doing dicking off in Puerto Rico having a good time? Like, shouldn't he be home and, in physical therapy and all that. Whoops, didn't mean to kill that guy. So yeah, so that's why I came up with the training manual, because I was like, I gotta do something. I can't leave them high and dry. I mean, before I left, also I offered that I could still work there as a side gig if they wanted, which they did seriously entertain. But then I guess they found somebody like right before I left that they could train, or I mean that they hired, and in the meantime, they had me train some other guy. So there was that at least, but yeah, I ended up, so that's why I had time to make that um training manual, because I was sitting around a lot of times with nothing to do, so I had tons of free time to make a very elaborate training manual. I mean, it was sexy. My training manual even got when I presented it to the, what was his name, operations manager. He's basically the site manager. So like the Pedro was the production manager. He was basically in charge of the shop and me and stuff, making sure that projects got out in time. But then you have the operations manager, who was basically in charge of the plant itself. So one thing that Pedro and the operations manager always had a problem though was they basically bickered with each other as to who was more important. Pedro would always say that he was more important because he was in charge of making sure that these projects got out on time. And a lot of times, if there was a customer problem, he would talk to the customer. And I always found that kind of ironic, because I was like, man, these people, I can barely understand you in person. Never mind on the phone. But yeah, but then the operations manager, what the heck was his name? I think his name was Russ. He used to always say, no, I'm more important because I'm I'm the guy that's oversees the whole place. You technically just oversee the production side of things. I oversee the whole entire facility. I oversee sales. I oversee the contractors. I oversee your areas as well, technically. So I don't know. But anyways, what ended up happening was, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so when I showed him though, he presented it to corporate, and I guess corporate was impressed by it. Basically, immediately adopted my training manual and distributed it to all the other facilities around the world. They had 12 locations. Some of them are in Spain. I think there was mostly all of them are in the United States, but there was a few in Spain and maybe some other European country. And yeah, it got distributed, and I thought that was pretty cool. Too bad I'm not still working with the company, so then I can be like, I don't know, reaping what I sowed, if you will. But yeah. So anyways, as I was saying though, I was working at Dunkin's. I mean, no, hold on. Let me back up a bit. So what I was trying to say was, I had that job back in 2015, and I was able to quit my second job at McDonald's because, well, I hated it and I didn't need it anymore. Well, what ended up happening was I kind of felt like I was unproductive. Like I would work and then I'd go home and I'd kind of do nothing. I'd watch a movie or I'd play a game, and like, yeah, it's relaxing, but I felt like I was just unproductive. I was like, what, 27 years old at that time? And I just felt like I wasn't doing anything with myself. And I was like, man, I'm sure there's more I can offer. Like, I have 3 college degrees. I have knowledge on stuff. I'm even good at things that I don't have a college degree for, like writing. Like, I made that training manual. Well, I made the training manual afterwards. But still, it's a skill that I have, even though I don't formally have a degree in writing or English or whatever that would be. I'm still good at it. So I was like, man, I'm just wasting myself away. So what I do want to do, and decided to do then, was I want to try to get into a college, and I don't care what I'm doing, even if I'm just like a tutor. But it's been so challenging to get into a school, and then COVID happened, so I gave up on trying. But I'm gonna start trying again, because COVID's kind of, I don't want to say fading out, but I don't feel like it's as severe as it was all along. So I'm gonna start trying again and see if I can get somewhere. But anyway, so I was trying during those days too, but what I did in the meantime is I just went around to all these places and applied. I didn't apply at McDonald's because, like I said, I don't want that. But I applied everywhere else. I applied to Stop and Shop, Price Chopper, Target, GameStop, Walmart. Oh, wait, no. not Walmart. Target though I did do, GameStop, all that. Where else? I think I even did Wendy's, even though I know it's like McDonald's and I'd hate it, but it's not McDonald's, so I was like, whatever, maybe I can suck it up. I think I did Dollar Tree. I applied everywhere, and like none of these places called me back. Oh, which that also circles back to what I was saying before, the irony, because nowadays you can get a job anywhere, no problem. I mean, you can get fired from one job one day, and the next day you have a new job. But during those days, it was such a pain in the dick to get anything. Same as unemployment. Now everybody gets it. Right now I'm working full time and everything. I could probably apply and get unemployment, no problem. But during those days, you have to fight for it. So, anyways, yeah. So I applied to all these places and I didn't get anywhere, and it was just annoying. So the Dunkins that I worked at during my late high school, early college days was actually right down the street from where I live now. It was close to where I was when I was a kid, where my parents live, but it's even closer now. So one night I walked there, and I was like, whatever. I walked there, I got an application, I filled it out, and I returned it. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to make him do that. I think I returned it the same day. Like, I filled it out there and just left it. And the very next morning, I had a call from the manager that used to be the manager when I worked there. And she says, is this the guy that I know? And I was thinking, I have a unique name. So I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, how many other me's do you know? Like 0. So anyways, yeah. So she talked to me and was like, yeah, you can come on in. So I got hired right away because she remembered me. So I was like, well, this is kind of stupid. Like, I didn't really want to go back to Dunkin's. I just kind of applied just to say that I did exhaust all my options, and go figure, this place calls me back 12 hours later, not even. Maybe. I think I went at 6 at night and I got the call at 9 the next morning. So that's what, 15 hours later? Still though, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So anyways, I took it. So I was doing closings there because I was working. I mean, the job I had, it was far. I mean, it was an hour and a half ride. I used to not get home until about 5. So the closing shift was at 6. So that worked out for me. So I'd get home from work, change, and then basically go back to work. So that's what I did. And then a couple months after I started there, that's when we got a new manager, which now is somebody that's been my friend and been in my life for, well, the past 5 years, since 2016. But yeah, so oh yeah, so anyways, anywhere that she's gone, like store wise, I basically just I've been following her around. So we worked at that one for a while, and then I feel like I quit or something. I can't fully remember, but I feel like I might have quit or something. But then I ended up back at her store again. She ended up getting transferred to a different store. And so I ended up, that's when I lost my job. So I ended up getting a job there with her, working with her again. And then, yeah, so then what happened was, I'm trying to remember, because I feel like I quit again. I don't fully remember the details. I might have quit when I got, yeah, I might have quit. Oh, yeah, I did quit when I got this job that I was talking about that was predominantly Spanish speaking, because there just wasn't any way that I could have worked there. First off, that place was like, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes out of my way. But when I was working overnights, and then I'd go there in the morning after, so at that Dunkin', so it was fine because, I mean, I'd be late. She'd schedule me for 8 and I'd show up at like 8:30. But I mean, 1, that's because I would get out of work at 7, then I'd go home and have to change and stuff. 2, I was tired as F. And so, yeah, I'd end up a little bit late. She never really cared. I mean, she did, but I think she also understood the situation and just kind of let it slide just because. But anyways, yeah, so when I got the job at the Spanish-speaking place, I quit because there just wasn't any point in me working there. I wouldn't have been able to make it, like, I don't think, I'm pretty sure how the shifts worked. That one might have closed a little earlier. Like the one that I was working at before, that I got into, that I said I applied to as a last resort option, and they hired me right away. That one initially was closing at midnight. Then when we got our new manager, it changed to closing at 10. But still, at least I could go in 6 to 10, and I could do that, 3 days a week plus work the weekends and still get about 30 hours total. Where this place that we went to, I think it closed earlier. I could be way wrong. Didn't I already collect all this crap? Why is it back? I'm not trying to change the story, but I already collected all this. Why is it back? It's weird. Anyways, though, so yeah, but it just wouldn't have been practical for me to work, so I quit. But then that's when yeah, so because of losing my job, though, I was struggling with money. Now, how did this work? I feel like my story's out of order. I'm not sure. Yeah, because I worked at that one when I was out of work. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because my car. I needed another car, so I needed extra money. So she chose this time. The last time she was forced to be transferred, I think forced, by the company she was with. Well, she left that company. I mean, it was still Dunkin's, but it's a different franchise. So she left that and went to a better one, where she was making much more money, and it was just, relatively speaking, it was much easier and way less stressful. The one that we worked at, like I said, the owner was a dickhead, and he never had enough product. So as a manager, like, that's stressful to never have what you need and constantly telling people, sorry, I can't give you that because we don't have it, and blah, blah, blah. So she got transferred to a store that makes sense. Like, there's enough budget to get everything you need and then some. And, like, the pay was way better. She was getting, like, what, I think double, was either double or, like, 75% more of what she was getting. So it was just a win-win. So anyways, though, I needed money because I was still recovering from losing my job. And then I needed a car because my car decided, I'm going to have problems and not start anymore. So that's when I hit her up to get a job at Dunkin' she was at. So this was back in November 2019. Now, again, kind of like the one that I said was impractical before because it was kind of far and stuff. I couldn't work there a lot just because of my schedule with my job. Plus, then when I started this job that I have now, I started this one in December 2019. So that's when I left the Spanish-speaking place. And yeah, so the hours there are 7:30 to 4 minimum. So by the time I leave there and I get to the other place, you're looking at maybe 5 o'clock would be the earliest I could make it. And then, like, I guess, so yeah, so I don't know. I guess that would be second shift. Well, no, that would be third shift because second shift ends at 6. And then third shift is like 6 to midnight, I think. And then, right? And then overnight was midnight to 6, right? Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I could do that, but then considering how far the job is, I'd be leaving at midnight if I did that, and then getting home late, and then have to get up at like 7 for my job, and I didn't want to be tired like that. So what I ended up doing was just working every other weekend, which was every other weekend only because the weekends that I don't have my daughter. Obviously, I'm A, not going to, and B, can't work when I have her. So, and that worked for me because obviously she understood my situation because I was like, where the heck else am I going to be able to get a job that I can work every other weekend? Again, nowadays, I'm sure everywhere would be accommodating like that because at least it's staff that they can look forward to every other weekend since everyone's having a hard time finding staff. But during those days, not so lucky. But yeah, so it worked for me to link up with her to be able to do that. Anyways, so yeah, I've been doing that since November 2019. So almost 2 years, which is funny because it's really only weekends. So I've only worked for 1 year's worth of weekends, which means only like 100 shifts I've done in 2 years. Can I get past these barricades? Wow, I can't. That's weird. But anyways, so yeah, so what ended up happening? Now I can talk about getting fired. So what happened was recently I went on vacation. I went on vacation the week of September 20th to the 24th. I think that is. That's the Monday through Friday, I think. Um, and so the weekend that I was supposed to work was the weekend before my vacation would have started. Well, what happened was that week prior to my vacation, or that week, or the week of that Saturday that I should have worked, my friend, being the manager, because I followed her there basically, her and I weren't talking. We were having a rough patch, and yeah, so I was like, I'm not going to work if we're not talking. Like, I'm not gonna go to work. That's just gonna be weird. For the most part, anyways, I've maintained the job just because it was to help her out. Like, I've been wanting to quit since like January of this year, and I've just been sticking it out because I figure it helps her out. Again, it's not like I work a lot, but at least she knew that every other weekend she had me for sandwiches because that's what I did. I liked sandwiches because I don't have to deal with customers, but all the employees hate sandwiches, so it gave at least all of them plus her to know that, gave that opportunity to know that I would be there for sandwiches every other weekend. So anyways, yeah, I was like, I'm not going to work. That's weird. Like, we haven't talked in over a week, and now I'm gonna go to work. Like, nah. I figured anyways, if we weren't talking anymore, like, why the heck would it even matter if I'm there for her? We're not talking anymore, so I don't care. Well, what ended up happening apparently was she didn't work either. I guess she had some kind of emergency with her dad to contend with, so she wasn't there, at least on Saturday. I don't know about Sunday, but at least Saturday she wasn't there. And so, yeah, her boss was there instead, the general manager. And apparently, because I didn't show up, the general manager claims that she tried to call me and text me, and I never responded. She claims that she was trying to ask if I was coming in or not. And I never got the text or the call. Actually, on that day, that weekend, I didn't really hear from too many people in general. I actually heard from my friend. We ended up talking on Saturday, and we ended up making up. I think we saw each other on that Sunday or Monday, sometime shortly after that. But, yeah, I think that's the only person. Maybe my brother texted me as well. That was it. I didn't hear from her. But anyways, she ended up talking to my friend about it, the manager, and she claims that, yes. And then she says he realizes he's fired, right? And like, yeah. So this is why the whole situation to me is just kind of funny and ironic because hey, cool. Because like I said, I've been planning on quitting forever. Like, she just made this easy for me now. Like, okay, cool. You did something that I've been wanting to do for 10 months. And I just felt bad to quit because, I was helping my friend out. So it's like, you did the dirty work for me. Now it's not on me that I don't work there anymore. That's the first thing that's funny about it. The second thing is, it's like, quitting is supposed to be like a punishment, okay? Or, being fired, not quitting. Being fired is supposed to be like a punishment, almost. Like, oh, you lost your job. Now what? And it's like, me lose, like, there's no, if anything, they're just punished. The Dunkins is just getting punished, not me. One, I can go anywhere, like I said, and find a second job if I want. Anywhere. Like I said, like, my requirements are kind of oddly specific that I can only do every other weekend, but how things are in today's world, I could probably easily land that. Any employer would be like, hey, whatever. Better than nothing, I guess. Maybe you can fit in some other times too, and I'd lie, yeah, maybe, even though the answer is no, but it would sound good to them, and they'd be like, whatever, we'll suck it up. So I'm like, it's not even a punishment. Third, like I said, I've been thinking about quitting, so again, it is not a punishment to help me lose a job that I don't like and don't want anyways. Like, and also, I find it kind of funny, because it's like, back to the whole situation with how it's supposed to be a punishment, it's like, did I say something? It's like, I only worked on the weekends, every other weekend. You know, like, it's not much of a punishment to get rid of me. What am I missing out on? You know? I guess the only thing that does suck about it is, so we got tips from there. And the tip money was coming in pretty handy for me to give to my daughter. I basically gave her all of my tip money. Well, almost all of it. Basically what I'd do is I'd go through and I'd collect quarters. I have a little pouch that I put quarters in for laundry. It's from the bank, so I guess it's like an official little change purse. And it roughly holds about 20 bucks in quarters. So when that thing is full, I don't count how much I'm putting in there. I just fill it. And when it's full, I know that's enough for laundry and then some. There's usually a couple bucks left over. So, yeah, that's all I do is I go through, I take the quarters out, and then everything that's left, I put in my daughter's piggy bank. So that's kind of sad that I don't have the tips anymore, because she's made a fair amount of money. I mean, she has about $520, I think it is, saved up. And that's all from my tips over these past couple of years. So, like, that kind of sucks. Because, like, that was another thing motivating me to stay. One was to help my friend out, but two was the tips from my daughter. To give her some money. So now that I don't have that anymore, I guess I could still find a way to give her money, but like now it comes out of my pocket. Tips is just free money. It doesn't hurt me at all. It doesn't affect me at all, you know what I mean? And from what I hear too, because the staffing is so crappy, like the tips have been even better. Like I hear during the week that they're getting like 30 bucks each. And I say during the week, because usually the week you get less. It's the weekend that you make some good money. So I'm like, geez, if the week is pulling 30, like we were pulling 30 bucks on the weekend. I'm like, what are they getting now? Like 45, 50 bucks a weekend? That'd be sick to give to my daughter. 50 bucks, you know, maybe 100 bucks in a weekend. That's pretty good. So that's one thing. The second thing that kind of sucks is, so my regular job, I get paid on Friday. Where there I was paid on Thursdays. So it was always kind of cool to have, you know, anywhere between 80 and 100 bucks just in my account on Thursday. It was handy, whether I needed it for gas or I wanted to do something with my daughter, I had that money. Like there was one day that we went out to go to the buffet. Like I said, everything's been closed because COVID, but now the stuff's open. That's cool. So I took my mom out with me as well to go to the Chinese buffet, and I paid, and it was handy because I had that extra money that normally I wouldn't have. But I had the Dunkin money. That just didn't matter. It was like whatever. I think it was like 85 bucks I had on me, so it was enough to cover the Chinese for me, my daughter, my mom, her friend, and yeah, I was able to cover it no problem. Where now, if I'm out of money, I'm out of money until Friday. I mean, Thursday is only one day earlier, but to me, it feels like it makes a huge difference because, like I said, I have my daughter, so it's like there's a potential that I might do something with her. So there's sometimes I might even go to like Chuck E. Cheese with her on a Thursday. So having that money was super beneficial, which now I don't have. So, I mean, that also sucks. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's not like it's that much either. It was anywhere between 80 and 100 bucks, like whoop-dee. And I mostly used it for dick around money. I wasn't using it for anything serious. It was just dick around money. So it's kind of like, you know, am I really missing out on anything? That I don't have any dick around money? Not really. It's more or less just the tips. That sucks. Wait, what was that? Something was 10,000. I gotta buy him? I can't just have him? But yeah, so it was mostly just dick around money. So I'm not really missing out on anything. And then, the heck, I can change how he looks? I can make him a woman? Butch is a cop? Prison guard? Anyways, though, so... What the heck? I'm distracted by all these things. So anyways, yeah, so that's really the only thing that kind of sucks, like... I just don't have... What the heck? is this? What does this over here do? Huh. What does this do? Huh. Anyhow, sorry. Oh, sweet. I never realized this. Nice. Alright. So anyways, yeah, so it's like I'm not even missing out on anything. Like, you're gonna fire me, like, you're just hurting yourself, if anything. Especially for that weekend, potentially. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if she ended up working Sunday as well, but now you're missing out on a body because you chose to fire me. Like, way to go. Congratulations. But, anyways, the kicker, I guess you could say, that I think makes this even more kind of funny is my friend, for the longest time, she's always defended that job. Like I said, I've been complaining about it since, like, January. And she's always been, like, gets all defensive, like, maybe you don't like it, but this is my job. I like it. It pays my bills, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. Like, don't take defense like this. I'm not making fun of the job for you. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't like it. I find it boring. The whole time I'm working, I'm staring at the clock, and I'm just thinking, is it noon yet? Is it noon yet? Ugh. And I'm not somebody that likes to wish my life away, because I always think, you know, someday you'll be, hopefully, old, and then you're going to be sitting there thinking, man, all I did was wish my life away. Like, that's what I always thought when I worked at McDonald's. There was a girl that worked there. She was a few years younger than me. And, like, she used to always just look forward to the time. Oh, is it 2 yet? Is it 2 yet? Because that's when we would get out, 6 to 2. Oh, is it 2 yet? And I always thought, man, you got to stop wishing your life away. Someday when you're older, it's like you're going to be there, older, and it's like you're just wished your whole life away to get to this point sooner. Now what? Now you're here, now what? Your next step is death. Congratulations. Like... So anyways, like I said, I'm not somebody to do that, but I'd always be so bored and hate it that's what I do. I just stare at the clock the whole time and be like, oh my word, is it time to go yet? I hate this. And then I also just hated getting up super early. I mean, to work there, I had to get up at 4 in the morning on the weekend. I don't want to do that during the week. Like, if you listen to my T4Cast, I was talking about how on Fridays my daughter and I have to get up at 4:30, and that's just Friday, one day a week, and that sucks. But I don't want to do it on the weekend. The weekend is meant to just be relaxing. It's your days off. I don't want to get up at 4:30. I mean 4, even worse. And I don't want to go to bed early either. I hated that. I hated going to bed early on Saturdays. You know, it's like Saturday is a night to do something. SNL, Saturday Night Live. You know, you're supposed to be up and doing stuff, not going to bed. I don't know why I keep gagging. Yeah, not going to bed at 7 o'clock because you got to get up at 4. I hated that. So anyways, though, like, that's the things I complained about. Just that I found it boring and the shift and blah, 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 like that. I don't know why I keep saying blah, blah, blah. I sound like an idiot. I hated the shift. I hated the work. Well, I didn't hate the shift because I definitely didn't want a different shift. I didn't want second shift or anything. I did want first shift. I just hated getting up super early and stuff. But anyways, so my friend, like I said, she's always been defending it. But recently she's been getting disillusioned as well. More or less it's because of COVID. Again, COVID's making stuff hard. People, I don't know what's up with these losers. People are all still there. They had their job. They lost their job because either they lost it because of COVID or they chose to be losers and quit and then pretend it was because of COVID so they can get that hazard pay from the government. But in any case, the people are still there. And, like, nobody's applying to get jobs, though, which makes no sense. And so, in part, that's what my friend is starting to get disillusioned with the job for, because she's just working a lot. She's working to cover these idiots that call out unnecessarily, or she's working to cover shortages because she don't have the staff, or, you know, stuff like that. She's just tired of it. Like, she's missed out on some family functions. I think she missed out on something for the 4th of July. She missed out on a little party that they had for her dad's birthday. She's just been missing out on a lot of things like that, family events. And then she even says it's just, this job, getting up early all the time and dealing with stupid employees and low staff and everything. She's like, it's just a affecting everything else as well. Like, she can't even really have a real life. Like, she says even, like, for us to hang out and stuff, it's influencing, I mean, it's affecting our time. Like, we don't get proper time together because, like, Fridays. We do sometimes hang out on Fridays. Well, first off, we used to hang out every Friday. Now it's sometimes. But there's also the situation where she's like, you know, I can't even do anything too long. Like, I gotta get going so I can go to bed by 8 o'clock. And she's like, I hate that. I don't want to have to worry about getting home to go to bed for 8. I want to... And then also, she's like, you know, she's pushing 40, and she's like, I don't want a job anymore where I'm constantly on my feet and running around all day. She's like, I want something more civil where I can just be a 40-year-old. She's like, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I don't want to be doing all this physical labor and being 6 people so that my stupid worthless crew can be worthless. Like, she complains about this one who's a teenager and just completely worthless, and it's, you know, just wants to stand there and do nothing, complain, and be on her phone instead of working and stuff. So, anyhow, she's been disillusioned. So, recently, what happened was, so, at my company, the HR person left to go to Maine. There's a kind of a story with that as well. So, she went on vacation and went to Maine with her sister. And her sister and her live together. I don't know the full details. I think it's their parents died and they inherited the house and they just live in the house together or something like that. Anyways, so her sister went on, well, they both went on vacation, but her sister ended up finding a house up there that she liked and said that she was getting it. I don't know how this was such a sure thing, but apparently it was. And so she was going to be moving up there, and the person that used to do HR at my company, she was like, well, I'm going to just stick around down here for a little bit more, because the woman that was at HR at my company, I think she was 60. So I think her plan initially was just to kind of like continue working down here until retirement age. You know, it's really only like 5 years, and then she could retire. So that's what she was going to do. Stay living down here, and then when she retired, she was going to move up to Maine with her sister. Well, I guess she started to think about it, and she really liked that house as well, and she changed her mind, and after vacation, she put her 2 weeks in. It's just kind of a funny situation, because, you know, she goes on vacation, comes back 2 weeks. I'm quitting, screw this. I almost feel like that's like an employer's, like, nightmare, kind of. The employee goes on vacation, so you lose them and for the week, and then you lose them forever because they change their mind on the job. Yeah, I'm good. But anyway, so now that position's been vacant. It hasn't been too long yet. I think it's only been about a month that it's been vacant for. But anyways, one day me and my friend / the Dunkin's manager were at Moe's, and I don't remember how it got brought up. I think I kind of brought it up just as like a joke, because I didn't think she would be interested, but I was like, oh, you could do HR at my company. I was like, you basically do that already, because, you know, you got to hire your own people or fire them if need be. And then, yeah, it kind of quickly became more serious. She started to ask questions about it, and yeah, one thing led to another, and then she was there filling out an application, and then she got the interview, and then she got the job. So anyhow, that was the beginning of this month, and so she put in like a 1 month notice to her job. To be fair, you know, give them a proper amount of time to prepare to get a new manager and such. And so, yeah, she's supposed to be done there, I think. So she starts at my company on November 1st, but she's leaving there. The Dunkin's, her last day is going to be, where's my calendar? I think her last day is going to be Thursday the 28th. I guess on that Friday, the 29th, she has an obligation with somebody else to do something for them that she's been supposed to do for them for a long time, and she's just been not blowing it off, but it's just it hasn't happened. So she's going to take the opportunity to do this while she's still affiliated with that person, because she knows them through Dunkin's. So basically, if she's no longer an employee, she's probably never going to see them or talk to them ever again. So she's going to do something for them, and then she's just taking the weekend off just to have a weekend off, since it's been literal years since she's had a weekend off. if ever. I don't know. I know as long as I've known her, she's worked every single weekend at Dunkin. So I've known her, like I said, for 5 years. So it's been at least 5 years since she's had a weekend off. So she's going to take that weekend off to fully recharge, and then come Monday the 1st, she's starting at my company. But anyways, I say all this about her because, again, it makes it funny how I got fired, because basically all they did was speed up the timeline. Like, with her getting a new job with me at my company, I'd be quitting Dunkin's anyways. Like I said, I was only working there, A, because she was the manager, and B, I only continued working there to help her out, because I know how the staffing situation is and all that. So without her there, I don't care about the next manager. I'm not going to work there for the next manager. Like, I would have been putting in my 2 weeks as well. Actually, technically, that's what it would have been, was 2 weeks, because I work every other weekend. So 1 month is 2 weeks for me, work-wise. So yeah, that's why I find the whole situation to be kind of funny, because But yeah, that's why I find the whole situation to be funny, because, like, I got fired and it's supposed to be a punishment, but I am not bothered really at all, other than that it makes me lose out on money that I could have for my daughter. And 2, I would have been quitting pretty soon anyway, so you just sped the timeline up a month. Like, whoop-de-doo. 3, if anything, you just screwed yourself over, because in a world where staff is everything, you just got rid of some staff because you didn't call me, even though you claimed you did. Oh, that's the other thing I want to say too. So yeah, technically I did blow the job off. Like, I wasn't trying to go in. But if it comes down to it, anyways, if I wanted to, I could have argued with her and easily got my position back. What I could have said was, 1, that I could have proved that she never called me or anything, because she didn't. What's this? But yeah, so 1, I could have easily proved I never got the call or anything, so that might have helped me get off the hook. And 2, it's a high jump, it doesn't even take any damage. And 2, what I could have done is I could have said I had worked it out with the manager. I don't want to say her name just to keep some privacy, but I worked it out with her that I'm on vacation from my job this week, so I thought I was squared away with her that I wasn't working this weekend, just to extend my vacation. Boom. Problem solved. I didn't bother to argue it, because, like I said, I don't care. And with my friend leaving, it doesn't matter. If she wasn't leaving, maybe I would have tried to pull a fast one like that and pretend that I had no idea that I was on the schedule. I thought I wasn't. But yeah, it's just a lot of irony, I guess, with me losing that job. Don't care. Would have happened pretty soon, and easy enough for me to argue and keep the job if I really did care. As far as a second job now, when my mom found out I got fired, she must have found out from my brother, because I didn't tell her. Not like I care. I'm 33 and I live on my own and all this, like, whatever. But when I was a kid, it would have mattered. I would have been nervous to tell her, but now, whatever. I just didn't tell her because, I don't know, I didn't really want to get into it. Like, obviously, there's negative connotations with being fired, so I didn't want to have to explain the story. But, whoops. But, I did tell my brother, because I think he was asking about me working or something. I was like, because he used to come out and visit me all the time, just as a customer. And I think he was saying something about it or something like that he was going to be coming out. And I was like, well, you're not going to see me, actually, because I'm not there anymore. I got fired. So he must have told my mom, because from what I understand, they've been hanging out together. They hang out, like, on Mondays. He works, I don't know what the heck he works, but he doesn't have a normal, like, Monday through Friday schedule. So I think on Mondays he hangs out with my mom for a little bit, because his son goes to the school in the town that my mom lives in, because he was living with my mom for about a year, so that's why his son's in that school district. But rather than take him out and make him start over somewhere else, he just still goes to that school district. So I think so. My brother was there to pick him up, essentially, but I guess he hangs out with my mom for a little bit too before that. Like, I think he gets there around 1, even though his son doesn't get off the bus until like 4, I think. So that's probably when he told her that I got fired. But anyways, yeah, so when my mom heard, she was like, oh, I heard you got fired. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So she was like, what are you going to do now for a side job? And I was like, for now, nothing. I mean, I do want to do something because, again, like I said, initially, Dunkin's, when I first went back to it, is because I felt like I was just wasting time doing nothing. So I don't want to feel that way again. How much does this cost? Jeez, 30,000? That's going to take forever to get there. But yeah, so I don't want to feel like I'm just wasting time. I mean, I could make my videos and stuff. I wasn't making videos before when I first wanted Dunkin's. But again, like, even though it's productive in its own way, it doesn't do anything for me. I can't monetize them or anything, so it's kind of a waste of time. I don't know. But I do want to find something. I just don't know what. I don't want some dumb job. You know, I don't want McDonald's or Wendy's or something stupid like that. Like, I'm past that at this point. Not to sound smug, but I mean, come on. I have 3 college degrees. My main job, I'm chief engineer. Like, come on. I'm past needing to work at McDonald's or any crap job like that. So I do want to find something. I just don't know what. Like I said, I want to try to get into a college or something. There's a local one right down the street from my job. It's literally like a mile or 2 down the street from my job. And if I could get into there, that'd be fantastic. I could leave work. I'd be dressed up appropriately for being a teacher because my job is business casual. So that would work to be a teacher. You know, I've had teachers that are just casual. That they wear jeans and like a button-down shirt. Like, okay. I guess it's better than a t-shirt, but like it's still not what you'd think it would be. Like a tie and all that. So I'm like, you know, I could do this. And it'd be convenient, just right down the street, you know? But I don't know, I've been trying for years, literally since 2015, and it still hasn't happened. And like COVID though, it's just screwing everything up. Because something else that I was gonna be able to do this year is one of my, I guess he's my cousin. Yeah, he'd be my cousin. He is the manager of an H&R Block. And 2 years ago, he told me about how I could get into H&R Block. You got to go through a training course and all this. And I had missed it. I think it was last year, right? I don't know. It was all COVID and stuff. I don't know. But I missed it. I was too late. I didn't realize when I was supposed to sign up. And I talked to him. And he was like, oh, you want to try to do this in like August. So I was going to do it this year. But I didn't try because I was like, with COVID and all this bull crap, I'm like, what's really going to happen? Am I going to go and they're going to, oh, are you vaccinated? Or some kind of gay crap like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with it. Like, I want to wait for COVID to just be, like, done. And then I don't have to worry. Everything will be back to normal. And then I can go and do the training to do taxes. Because I feel like that would be awesome. Like, even if I don't work at H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt or anything, it's something I can still do in my spare time. You know, I can still do my own taxes. I could set up signs at my job and be like, hey, if anybody wants me to do your taxes for you, I'll charge $50 as opposed to Jackson Hewitt or H&R Block that's going to charge you $500. You know, I'm sure I could get some fair business out of that. Some of the people in the shop, they don't make much at my company. The shop pays minimum wage. So I'm like, you know, I'm sure I could get a lot of those people that would be interested in my services, save them a bunch of money. I could do my mom's for her, my brother's if he was interested. So there's potential in there. And even for me, I could do it for free instead of paying somebody $200. Because I was going to go to Jackson Hewitt one year, and it was literally $500. And I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm not paying $500 to get my taxes done. It's just, I wanted to do that instead of who I usually use, because the person I use is just an independent, like, contractor. Like, her job was to be a accountant or whatever, but now she's retired and just does taxes and as a side gig. Well, she used to live local to me, but now she's moved to Florida, and like there's times where it just takes forever to get my taxes done. Like, I send it out to her and I don't get it back until, I don't get it back until, geez, this camera is ridiculous. Ugh, I don't want this. But yeah, I don't get it back until like there was one year where she almost made me late on filing the taxes. She got it back to me like, I don't know, second week of April, not second week of April, something really late though, like maybe April 12th. And then yeah, she e-files for me, but I'm like, geez, way to push it. Like, the taxes are due the 15th and you're getting this back to me on the 12th? Like, jeez. I know it's not your taxes, so maybe you don't feel like there's any priority, but for me there is. I don't need to be dealing with the IRS being a pain in the butt, possibly tacking on some late fees or something, and it's not even my fault. So, you know, it would be nice to be able to get away from that and be able to do it myself. Then I can do it right away and it's free. And then whatever return I get is fully that, not that minus $200. Because this woman also has been going up every year, which is kind of annoying. When I first started using her, she was wicked cheap. She was like $120. It was awesome. And now she's up to $200, and I'm like, what the heck? What's she gonna be this year now? $250. So, anyways, yeah. So I feel like it'd be viable, but it's just all this COVID nonsense that I don't want to deal with. But that's just like the college thing. I do want to try to do that again, but I feel like the college thing, I don't know. I know colleges could be little wusses and make you have to be vaccinated, but I feel like, well, if worse comes to worse, maybe out of college, I could still do my own class and just wear a mask, even though it's stupid. But here you go, you happy I got a mask on? At the end of the day, anyways, there is social distancing between the board where the teacher is and the students at their desks, so why would I even need to have a stupid mask on? I don't know, but you know, the whole world of COVID is just ridiculous, and I just, I don't know. But yeah, so I do want to do something on the side. I just want it to be something good. I don't want to just do some worthless job. I want to do something that I have skills with. Something that I can, you know, actually bring some solid viability to. Or with, whatever the word is I'm looking for. Not just, oh, I work at Dunkin's on the side. I want to be like, oh, I work at this college on the side, you know? So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll figure it out, hopefully. Anyways, that's it. Really, I just want to talk about that story of me getting fired, because it's like, it's such a goofy situation. Like, I don't even care. You know, I've had 2 weekends now. This weekend and the weekend was it that weekend? Hold on, what's today's date? Today's date's the 17th. Oh, yeah. So this weekend and the last weekend was the 2nd and the 3rd. That weekend. And then the weekend that I technically was supposed to work and didn't. So it's 3 weekends now that I've had off, and they've been awesome. They've been awesome to relax and not go in super early and just have a good day. 2 days off. So yeah, getting fired doesn't faze me at all. It's actually good news. Anyways, that's all. And if you lasted this long, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching this very boring video of me just collecting all this nonsense. And until next time, I said see ya.